Okay, so I've done a few ranking videos on my channel, but I have to say this is going to be the most challenging one. Welcome back, guys, to another ranking video. Today I am ranking the 3 John Wick movies. This was a challenging one to say the least, as I said before, because not only is it only 3 movies, but these 3 movies are great. I don't see anything bad about these 3 John Wick films, and it was hard to rank them as it is. So I'll tell you what my number 1 is soon. But in the meantime, in the comments below, tell me what you think of the 3 John Wick movies. How would you rank them? What would be your number 1? And don't forget to click on that subscribe button and click on that bell notification to hear any more future content from me for your enjoyment. As I said before in my John Wick 3 review, is that this is a franchise that gets better with every sequel. I compare it to the Mission Impossible series, whereas each film gets better than its predecessor, and that's exactly what's happening here. The story isn't exactly anything to write home about, but what makes it special is you're learning about this John Wick mythology and the action of the film, the choreography, the way it's filmed. And John Wick is the action star of the 2010s. In the 1980s, it was Rambo. The late 1980s to the 90s, it was Die Hard. And we have here now our next action star. This is a truly special franchise that I have said before, this will continue to make more sequels. This is not the last we've seen of John Wick. But as I said before, this was a challenging ranking, but let's get started. Coming in at number 3 is John Wick Chapter 2. Now, there's nothing wrong with this film. Even though it's at number 3 does not mean it's the one that I hate. It's just that it's not my favorite when you're comparing all 3 of them. This was a great movie, a great sequel. This is the movie that did make me a John Wick fan, though. This was the first one I did see in theaters. And it was double downing on everything you saw in the first film, with the action, the choreography, the way it was shot with the cinematography, and the production value. It was all amazing. It's just that, in my opinion, sometimes the film did lag a bit in the dialogue scenes, but nonetheless, it was a great sequel. Keanu Reeves knocks it out of the park once again, and the movie adds Lawrence Fishburne to the film, and it was cool seeing these 2 actors come together again, getting reunited, because as you all know, these 2 were in the Matrix films as well, so it was awesome to see them in a movie together. And like I said, the action's amazing, and my favorite scene in this film is the catacomb sequence, and this is probably one of my favorite sequences out of the 3 movies. Even though this is my top 3 spot, that scene would probably make it in my top 3 special moments in the John Wick franchise. But nonetheless, this is a good movie, a good sequel, and it bridges part 1 and part 3 perfectly, because with part 1 and part 2, it takes place a few days in between, and between 2 and 3, it's merely a few minutes. So we need this film to bridge these other 2 movies, which I favor over this one, but still a great sequel. My number 2 spot is the first John Wick film. This is the movie that really started it all. This started a cultural event, and people look back on this movie as the definitive John Wick movie, comparing it to the first Die Hard film or the first Rambo movie. And it's also innovating in regards to the way it was filmed for an action movie, the choreography of it, and just something that we'll see in future action movies. And it's just as influential as much as the first Matrix film, which Keanu Reeves also starred in regards to the action, the CGI of it. So this is also a comeback for Keanu Reeves as well, because his last big franchise was the Matrix movies, and seeing him come back again within the next decade in this type of film invigorated his career and just set off once again new innovation in regards for action films, just like the Matrix films were for the sci-fi movies. The reason why I like this one more than part 2 is that the first film, you see a more vulnerable side of John Wick in the beginning of the film, and the film begins with him still mourning over his wife. He's then given a dog by his wife after her death, and we know what happens to the dog, and you just see the rage in his eye, and this is what really triggers him to go on this rampage. And yes, this one truly is the vengeance film of the 3 movies. Even though all 3 movies really do connect as one film, this is the beginning of it, and I would say this one is more vengeance related than the other 2, and you just see that in his eyes throughout the entire movie. He is full of rage, especially after his dog is killed. That scene I will never forget. I couldn't believe what I was seeing, and that's within the first few minutes of the movie. And even though this was the movie I didn't see in theaters and I wasn't interested in it at the time, every time I watch this movie, I really appreciate it more and more, and it really is one of my favorite action movies within the last few years. And my number one spot, no surprise at all, John Wick Chapter 3. I'm not putting it number one just because I just saw it in theaters and I'm overcome with excitement still. No, this truly is the best one out of the three. It's what you get from the first two movies and more. You're exploring even deeper into the underworld of John Wick, that whole mythology of it, and you just get action bit by bit. It will get exhausting, but believe me, it's worth it. It's the longest one out of the three John Wick films. And once again, this movie ends on a cliffhanger. I'm pretty sure we are going to get a fourth one. Believe me when I say that. It's going to happen in a few years. But this movie is by far the best one. The action, once again, they took it to another level and tried things I've never seen in other action movies, especially in the first half hour of the film. In my review, I did say there's certain things that he used to kill people that you never really saw in other action movies, which made it really unique. The addition of Halle Berry in this film playing Sophia, which is one of his allies, someone that I really liked in this movie. I wish she was in the film longer. I'm hoping we see more of her in future installments, but she made the movie even better. She almost stole the show from John Wick, but everything about this film, the production, the cinematography, everything about the last two movies, just 10 times better. I want to see it again. This really made me even a bigger fan of John Wick. If you are already a fan of John Wick and you haven't seen this film yet, please watch this movie. It is really good. I don't want to try to hype it up for anyone, but I'm just saying now, I liked it, and my anticipation of it was really high even before I saw it, and it was worth the anticipation. I love the film, and for anyone who's not really a big John Wick fan, I would say, I mean, you still should see the first two movies so your understanding of what's going on, because it does take place immediately after two. But this movie still is very entertaining. Even if you don't see the last two movies, you'll still get a kick out of what you're seeing. And that, my friends, was my ranking of the three John Wick films. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you enjoyed what my number one is. But more importantly, I want to hear what your ranking is. Tell me what your number one John Wick film, and share with me, do you think this is a franchise that should stop at Chapter 3? Or do you think they should make a few more? Tell me your opinions. I love to hear them. But as usual, thank you guys for watching. Go ahead and give it a like if you like this video. Make sure to subscribe to hear more content from me, movies, TV, and more. This is Rye the Movie Guy saying, I'll see you at the movies.